And we had a site, we had a design built up which got used and passed its age in terms of usability, but it was worth enough. It's restoring 2 CR back. Once this was dismantled and taken back, the existing Milan Mela, it was 2 CR gain. That means the sale value of the scrap. So this project is Milan Mela 2020 because 2020 is what the deadline seems to be raking. And since it's more as a design presentation, we will root it to a little more romance. And there is the structural engineer in the session, part of the structural team, the principal of the structural engineer being here, I think in session 3, MN consultant. So they would be talking, I think, if not more on this project or some other project. But yes, I would taking you to at least the preface and the usability. How does the steel come? But here the relevance is about the comprehensive whole. Important thing was starting with why. Kyun? Any design, it's not just forcing any system or construction methodology, but why do we start with? So when we got this project, when we were selected on the design front, and when we were working on the design, so we started asking ourselves, questioning, why are we doing this? Why at all are we doing this, and why at all government needs to do this? And if it all has to be done. So it's important that we were questioning ourselves, we were trying to know more about the context, because context is very important in terms of what design comes up, the vision of the government, the vision of the operator, what state has it, the mathematics, economics of state, the research. A lot of research has to be done, including standing up and asking how many people are supposed to be re-employed again. As a design, how many people are going to say thank you, no more jobs, and how many will we retain? Apart from every drain which is going, the traffic in the city in the next 50, 60 years, we took a time span of 50 years. What will happen to the traffic, how it will be rerouted in the master plan, and then what happens. So this is very important as far as the product is concerned, because it's not about material, it's about usability as a material. Now then we talked about the issues like as I told, transportation, issues of pollution, issues with client handling, who will be the client, what kind of contractor do you invent, what is the budget, many, many things were there, and the limitations. And the important thing came to be, the limitations were, one of the limitations was, time kothai. I'm sorry, it just said, where is time? We don't have time. So idea was, if you don't have time, what are we talking about? What are we talking? And where's the relative word about time? How much time is good for construction, and how much time in the present system can we actually optimize? So a lot of questions came asking, and then we tried to think about what is the relevant, I'm sorry, I'm still using this one. So what kind of questions? So questions became a more sensible way of understanding this, like how to bring change in the urban realm. It was basically an international trade fair ground. So it had many things apart from just being trading. It's not about the pavilion, it's about how to integrate the mathematics of business, about the food logistics, car parking system, safety, public place, many things. So we started breaking down these specific questions, and then we had how to bring change in urban realm. If you make a building, how does it affecting the entire thing together? The places around it, the places in the vicinity. Below that you see are the 3 inferences that we drew. So first question was urban realm. Are we taking care of the pedestrians? Does the design actually bother about pedestrians? I just saw a bridge construction shown by one of the speakers here. I just walked in and they're showing a pedestrian bridge. That's fantastic to see a green when you're walking. How do you influence the vicinity, which has a 5-star hotel coming up? Existing 2 5-star hotels proposed. A fantastic residential complex, a mall coming up, soon a 7-star mall coming up there. And then we have waterlogging, infrastructure kaaj korena. We have the system of actually transferring the sludge is not working, and we always have in that area drain, overflowing drain. And this is where the important things are. And suddenly we are supposed to put a lot more things there. Then how to add the happiness quotient. We're talking about city's pride, Bishwa Bangla, CM's vision, and how do we design brings in happiness quotient? happiness, dekhi jana bhalo lage. I often go to a particular airport, and when I look at the airport and I see the structure, I feel sad about it because it's too much of steel I see, too much. I don't know, maybe one of the criteria may be that high-strength steel has not been used, too much of tubes I see than more than necessary. So the good design becomes ugly, and you just come say, I'm standing under the shed, I'm standing under a workshop shed, I'm not standing into an airport expression. So how can steel, good construction, suddenly becomes something which makes you very sad, and suddenly you see that, okay, there's an ecology below, they try to put plant and everything, and a huge amount of steel above, not more than what you think of. So how to have happiness quotient in the city? 5 sense design. 5 sense design is how you play. How can buildings play with your sense of sound, sight, olfactory, music, many, many things, touch and feel. Design has to go like this. Did I bring in ecology? Singapore seems a happy city, etc., etc. Why? Green index. Most of the buildings that we're doing are very benign, like inert. They don't have any sense of ecology with them. How can ecology and can we engage community? Can the community get engaged? Most of the designs are good, but we think that, it works as a shell, as a building, everything is working, but people inside, it's not people friendly. So how do you engage people and educate people into a happiness index? Are we happy sitting here, or are we too chilled? For the last 1.5 sessions, I was actually shivering. The temperature is much more. Maybe the heat index is higher, whatever, lower, or more coffee is needed. And whatever it is, we have to engage people into some kind of happiness. You're shivering. How do you define growth through design? We were given this challenge, How do you define growth through design? Trade Milan Mela, it's not just a building. It's going to define growth, trade growth. And we'll not say that we are growing slow or we are going fast. We are going the way we think we are going. But if you really want to portray that we want to do more trade, there's a language of a design. How can we get the language? So is it about using new technology in the building? Is it about product mix? How we make a trade fair pavilion, not just a pavilion, something more. There are more engineers, if I'm not wrong, than architects here. But it's good to know that good number of architects are also here in comes to the house. And what more? We often see growth as a GDP index. A building can give more. What is that more? When the building is not in the use, can still it work for the city? Can it work? How do you work a building when it's not in the use? If this hotel was not occupied, can it do something back to the city? Can we look at that? How to make this into a great public place? This is the point here. Public destination. Public destination when it came, onek kichu bhabte holo. 365 days operation hobe ki hobe na? Will it operate? I'm sorry, I'm biting into local language, but 365 days operation was the point. Right now, they're operating about 100 days. They plan to operate about 220 days. But what about 365 days operation? What happens then? Is still filth there, which is uncollected filth, a garbage dump coming up, or we have something called SBS coming up, sick building syndrome coming up. In most of the pavilions inside, if you go, it's very sick building syndrome. It's like a shell, factory shell. What do you do with that? Comfort. If you go for a public place, we're looking for comfort in terms of facility, etc. What is that? How do you add to the comfort index of a place? And if it's a public destination, it has to be safe. Terrorists are waiting in such places. They will pinpoint, and one such incident will actually change the trade fair complex can get a very ugly name to the city. That is safety. Safety index is how we can do it. How to build an integrated trade facility. Flexibility is needed. We want to defend shows. We want to do construction machinery shows inside the pavilion. Automobile shows, we want to do it. We want to call in something wonderful, the best of things. Logistics of the trade facility, we want to have 40-foot container moving through, 20-foot container moving through, many, many things, and operations. If you want a guy to come in, get impressed, can I convert him to business? Can I make sense? Can I provide all the logistics support for a media? They are hiring this place because we don't have that organized facility for a place like this. But back-end trade facility is a big thing. It's about logistics, it's about business integrations, it's about food facilities, about safety, it's about first aid systems, many, many things. And right from baggage handling. You come walk in with your baggage, where you put your baggage? How to institute sustainability and efficiency. We want to say that, whatever you build, present Milan Mela, within the campus, had only 6 trees, rest were shrubs. And we were talking about 23 acres now. So energy, not in the green ecology, we have to consume least of energy, don't waste energy. Material and reuse. We wanted to reuse everything which is there. So we wanted to reuse the transformer which was there, the pumps which were there. Can we reuse the entire thing, augment? So rather than wasting money, can we reuse back to the system? And this was the first language which is difficult for the government to actually say yes. But we said, nahi, manna to padega. You have to make them understand, because if you want us to take a green valuation tuition, value proposals, then you have to understand that you are the end user in terms of as a client, so you should first reuse whatever you have. Reuse, salvage everything, do it. And tomorrow what we build, whatever we are building, is it again salvageable? And this is very important for the forum to understand. Can we again take it back? So quickly I'll show you the process. We have deleted many slides, jumped in a couple of slides from here and other presentations for the same part. Just make the baggage to make the context understood by the designers here. This was a site, and the site is, just to relate the site, that this is your ITC, the tower coming up. This is what existing done by Kerry Hill. And the residential cropping up here, and this is your Science City. So what happens is, we got a site like that, and this is the area which is always flooded by sewage, and the monsoons actually are felt there when your car is almost dumping chassis high water. So the first thing is, and a flyover coming up. So with a flyover, you almost get confused where to look over, where to look out, where to look in. So the first is, can I have a vision, convergence, and the spine? So we wanted to make a spine. It's a public building. Can we have a spine so to hold it very cleanly instead of having very asymmetric construction? Because this is a wonderful area to move around and see, explore. So when you move around at a pace of 40 kilometer per hour speed on the freeway, you have to see and adjust something which is balanced. Often asymmetry is the language, but balance is something which is timeless. We wanted to get the traffic linkages solved in the design. So what we first did, there's a subway made, pedestrian sublink made from the Science City side. So we ensured that people who are crossing here, crossing on the other side of the road, get public transport first. Solve the transport system. So design started from there. And then we made the blue line that you see is where the public buses go. Buses should stop decently, 6, 7 buses at one point in time, picking up people and going here. The red one is the by lane, which actually goes by between ITC and this Milan Mela area, which is actually a double lane, but it's not enough when it comes to a fairground. So here we notice that we cannot have a traffic by lane, and hence we have to make our own road inside the campus. And it's very unlikely that the government does it, because no one would try to make, no, I'll not give any patch of my land to the road. You know what will happen? So we said, no, you have to wait. There's a way to do it. So we noticed that, the people who are coming from here in terms of cars, this is the full length, a lot of time to drop off and collect people, and then car can just go fly from here, drop off along this line, and then take this route and merge with the emerging traffic here, while as the public transport can actually go like this, drop off and go straight into this lane. So it kind of demarcated the two solutions and made the byline through. And the other things we're studying is visual intrusion. When you want to make any building next to such a building and call it as a landmark, and our CM is very particular, landmark and thing like this, she said. So the idea was how you cannot compete with the height. There's no way you can compete with the height. It'll be so senile to compete with the height, so wrong, I'm sorry. So all these heights coming up, so there's, and a great pavilion need not go so high. Great pavilion is always a horizontal structure, is like a hall. So we wanted to create some verticality for the reason. What can be the reason? So much of Vishwa Bangla stuff is going on, but there has to be some reason behind it. So we said, yes, there's a need of height. We calculated the height scientifically. There's a method of VI index called visual intrusion, a need of height. How much height is good? Where to place the height? Height as a material, as a design element. This was the scientific, just a sketch to understand public term means around the people, when they move around, they should feel nice. They should be able to pick up some food without even Milan Mela coming. When you're passing by a place, right now, if the doors are closed, you have no connection. The world is finished. If it's unoccupied. And can we just go around? There are corporate offices coming in here and this place. There's a PS headquarters and things like this. So people can just walk in and buy, even if there's no roll counter here. Calcutta is famous for rolls and so much of street food and we don't have. So we thought, can we make that arrangement in front something interesting? So this was a sequencing of built and open zone. The front area was kept open because there was a certain amount of outdoor exhibitions still to be there. We can make indoor. They wanted 2 big halls. How much? We calculated it's already going to be 1 lakh square feet or 2 halls. 1 hall can be divided in 2 parts. But we cannot put them here. Let there be visual space where you can appreciate. Let there be some open park, but there's outdoor exhibition areas which can convert into park eventually. Let the access be there. Then have a pavilion, have the service block tucked in here, and then have a car park zone. Milan Mela didn't have this car park, so have a big car park, multi-level car park zone. At least we calculated you would need a more car park. They right now push a car park to something beyond here, and cars are like, enough is enough, you don't have a car park. So car park was very important, and this became the reason it faster. Also for crowd management was in a structured manner. We didn't want the crowd to get together in one single place, but distribute the crowd and contain the crowd in small zones. So that was very important. Now, how do you distribute it? You cannot have lakhs and lakhs of people walking in, driving in, and then all together. It's a very, very unsafe way of doing it. So crowd management, why the design was also there in clusters. Can it be code, something like that, simple. Okay. I can tell you something interesting. We often be cribbing about the science for Vastu, but I know Vastu has now been taught in IIT. It's a compulsory science, and 75% of the buildings in the world, which are best of the buildings in steel construction, not in India, world, Hong Kong, Shanghai Bank, for example, are based upon either Vastu or Feng Shui. Let's be very fact. That's the fact. Whether it's a Videshi sitting there or Foster sitting there, if he's asked to do, he follows it. And he follows it scientifically. And we are the pioneer of it. So we also try to follow it. We try to make some get green and red zones in whatever way best could be done, but we are almost like 88% there. In terms of heights and zones, we want to rectify it. And layering of green. We calculated that we should at least plant 400 trees. We are now on a specification of 500 trees in the design. Not only that, we had to relocate the trees because of the road going there. So we'll be transplanting those trees with the full technology and also compensating it, transplanting within the site and compensating it huge amount. So you can see that heat island effect, unnecessary the clutter, which is getting clean. So green zone penetrating and going through the building. A quick to understand how the massing went along, 1, 2, 3. The massing became like this, the 2 blocks coming up, 2 big pavilions, structures, 1 lakh square feet, 120 by 75 meter column-free structures. We didn't want a column. Many of the guys said, why do you don't want a column? This column is already there. Then we had good sessions with the structural engineer and ultimately a team. There's not one, there's a team of people. And so they worked out and ultimately we could resolve it by a simple way of pulling the roof above. And whatever way I could layman tell you is, we just kind of pull the roof through and get a lack of space clear in each of them, then dividing 2. All the logistics within the pavilion were contained here, including the baggage, the first aid, the press rooms, etc. within it, apart from a separate block, which actually became a sandwich block in between, as you can see here. The magenta colored block is a parking block, 1,200 cars, fast construction, speed floor. I'm sure that somebody will talk about speed floor here, using steel, of course, in terms of making it faster, faster, faster. And then we want to wrap it with green, so that we can compensate about 25, 30 trees canopy in the building. And then we had this vertical tower, which was basically the clock tower, Vishwabongo Trade Tower. It'll have an intelligent clock, the digital clock there. It'll be a screen which can change the way we want it, whatever we want it. And then we're going to have 2 big pavilions, 2 big food courts, 25,000 each. One food court can be Kolkata street food court, which can be open every time. 24/7, or possibly 365 days, even if the thing is not occupied inside. So that comes here in the outside, forming a public realm, a public space here, where people will drop in, buses are going in. So while going to the buses are coming down, you can take your roll and go, enjoy yourself. Outdoor exhibits come here. A big spine, each of this spine is 50-meter wide spine. The scale, this is 50-meter wide, the spine, which is like public plaza. And then 2 green parks come. And these are whenever they're needed. In case, if they need outdoor exhibit spaces, they would come there as income here, because otherwise they are not needed. So what you land up with something like this. Here what we did was quick to make it faster, because I'm sure that there's less time. So what we did, this is a temporary exhibits. The parks will be here, Pocket Park. The spine goes straight like a T. This is the separate road going to be made here. Internal road, drop off, 3 cars, adjacency. A lot of cars will be dropped off and ultimately go and park in this thing. Otherwise, you could just park and drop off, go off. 2 ways of entry, 2 gate complexes, one here, one there. And Kolkata street food court here, a lot of public space and police booths and things like this come in this entire thing, which can be always open. And the pavilion, which is a lakh square feet of public space, has an interesting construction with an exoskin outside. That's a plan, quickly, just to understand, and I'm not going to the plan, but just to understand each one. So 800 exhibits inside the halls, 800 kiosks inside the halls. That's a big construction. And the inside, you have a sandwich block, which is having the global food court and the other facilities above, interlinking. Each of these plazas is 10 meter wide. We have an exoskin, which is working both for the climate as well as the facade treatment to take in digital life together. We have a trade fair, trade museum below this tower. So Vishwabango Tower has a trade museum, and this was an engaging fountain system here altogether, people sitting around and public place, great maza in here. And this, below this one, is the museum, which is in the basement. So a quick snap. This was a storytelling of thing. We pulled the roof above by tensile members, which are actually being worked. It's going to be customized. We don't get a section like this, so it's standardized. The exoskin comes to play in the facade system. It is above a complete industrial shell, which actually takes care of 3D projection, wrapping projection, which to visual merchandise. So what you see is a design which is coming like this. This is a pavilion, very simple. And what you see in front of it is a tower. This is a tower which is basically a diagrid tower. Here we were facing to make the sections very slim. So it's a diagonal grid tower having a digital 6-meter dia screen, a digital screen, which will give a sense of a globe, revolving globe all around. And this, either it's a Vishwabango or tomorrow it's plus or a flag of India. Anything can come, anything which you want to popularize. This will, otherwise it will be a clock tower. Otherwise it's a digital thing. And from all sides this can be seen and enjoyed. So what you see in the center is a block which will have the basic logistics block or the smart block with the chambers and a lot of the global food court below. This is going to be wrapped in green in terms of size. This is your clock tower, and that you can see is a museum below. And that's diagrid structure. This is something interesting. I think our engineers have been able to crack it. Of course, it will have its articulated system in terms of illumination. You can digitally and make it integrated with the 3-dimensional illumination system with the building and off the building grid. Close some sketches. So this exoskin also gives us extended canopy of 6 meters and quite a brilliant spaces here, and people just interact, move around. Shelter, skin, musical fountain, people engaging itself, sitting down. And that's the Kolkata street food court, 12 big brands. Recently, we just did the Mishti Hub, which has 10 brands. Here we'll get the 12 best brands of the city, including we hope that the best of the rolls, etc., which will actually be a public space, people coming down, eating food. Calcutta is very foodie, enjoying. And these all structures are basically tensile structures. Simplify the design. These are tensile. You need not be air-conditioned inside. This is good. Otherwise, the cost of operation will go. And they are worked on your section and cable system. That's your parking block. The parking block is wrapped in green to compensate a lot of greenery and also to give you the dimensions of filtering the air. We don't want the glare of parking car to be seen from the house neighborhood. So there's glare control of the car and also the dust control. This is the exoskin of the parking block. As I told you, this is speed flow construction and all the logistics drive in. There's no unnatural basement. Basement is expensive. Why to waste money there? We only have 20 months to finish the design. And we have a solar plant above, the solar farm. So that's been taken care of. The top car parking is having a solar farm. We were told you would only need about 12 kilowatt, but we could see we could easily do 90 kilowatts. So we did a 60 kilowatt plant to get a higher rating on the green. The green strategy was very interesting. How do seasons change in the city? You celebrate the seasonal change in the city. You also wanted to see how you wanted to see the regional response, the biodiversity. So we calculate about 60, 70 great bird species will be there in the campus. So when the thing is not been used, it's like a park. You go and there'll be movie screen on the building facades. 10 minutes promotion movie in the 3D visual. You were sitting down in this park, maybe with a moody or maybe with a candy, with an ice cream, and just enjoying it. So when it is not being used as it is, it can be used as a public place also. Now, based upon the operation, we also want to minimize that you don't go to air conditioning, you let the revenue go, let the operation cost get reduced, and heat get reduced, because otherwise the heat island, they become a huge heat island. People get confused in the Mela. Garam, it's hot, humid, and there's no shelter. So that's the way the green works. And also, over long term, if you see, there was green biodiversity corridor, which we were missing. This was a lake here, and that is the lake next to Swabhumi, Subhashar over there. So this lake, and this was a biodiversity connect, which was not being done very well because of this much of site. So we actually wanted to make this green corridor. If you make a green corridor, you have a biodiversity link, otherwise it's all isolated. If you make only steel buildings, it does not work. You have to merge it with ecology, otherwise they spoil the biodiversity corridor link. So this was established. Some of the renderings. We can even have projections like this, which is only laser guided. It's a special system that we're getting from Holland. And so this will be also, you can have lasers only. So if it's an automobile show, on the facade, you'll have automobile branding and things like this going on, and 3D wrapping system. Otherwise, you have anything can be projected on the facade while moving here. A lot of green cover can come. So quick to the figures, 20 months, 60 kilowatt solar plant. One is just the numbers, which is just to tell you that we land up 150 meters digital display, 250 number. Urinals very important to actually increase, and 500 number of trees, plantation, 900 square meters 3D projection, 1,500 numbers of cars, 1,900 tons of refrigeration, 3,000 tons of structural steel. And what's more important is the sheeting system, which is aluminum alloy, either whatever, the material could be 24,000 square meter tensile fabric. All this are recyclable. We didn't want to go into the system of concrete. Otherwise, both for the surface of green and both for the surface, the logic of reuse, everything can be done. And they have got life. So just to understand one thing, that nothing is permanent. So if you get the logic that today we are meeting and discussing steel construction, the greatest advantage that I see is time and non-permanency. Let's design for non-permanency. If you can reuse cradle to cradle back to the circular design system, something like this, it will work very well. And there's a little bite of